In late November 2014, we traveled to Cappadocia. A lot of people pronounce it Cappadocia, or it's Cappadocia. It's not actually a city, but rather a region in central Turkey. And we flew there from Istanbul and stayed there for 3 nights, and we stayed in a cave hotel, which is kind of exactly how it sounds. Half of our room was carved out from a cave, and the other half had a stone facade built on top of it. We'll post some pictures. The cost for the 3 nights combined for the cave hotel was $85. That might have been the off-season rate, because when we were there wasn't a lot of people there, but it really was quite affordable. So in Cappadocia, the geography is really interesting, obviously. They call the conical things that you see fairy chimneys, and they actually would tunnel them out on the inside and build houses and stuff inside of them. And it kind of reminds you of like the Flintstones or something like that. People still live in some of them now to this very day, and I guess I don't see why not. It's perfectly acceptable housing, just different from what you're used to. It's really a different kind of place to visit. So the first day we just arrived, we flew there, arrived, and there was a shuttle to pick us up from the airport and bring us back to the city. The city was named Jerome. When you go to Cappadocia, they've kind of streamlined the whole tourist thing, and there's 3 different tour lines that you can take that take you to different sites and attractions. There's the red line, the blue line, and the green line. We ended up choosing the green line because it hit the highlights for us. I really wanted to go to Derinkuyu, which is a massive underground city, been carved out from the rocks, and the other things on the tour sounded pretty cool. So the tours themselves all ran about $70 per person, which is a lot if you're trying to backpack around and maintain a budget. We're really not the type to do paid tours all that much, but I don't think we could have seen what we saw had we not done some sort of paid tour. So I'd say in this particular instance, it was worth the $70 per person for the tour. Day 2, we woke up bright and early, and the van came to our hotel to pick us up, and we kind of drove around collecting the different individuals. That night, it had snowed. It started snowing the night before, but it snowed that night, so the entire countryside was kind of blanketed by a nice white coat of fresh snow, which for us was kind of a novelty because it had been years since we had been anywhere where there was snow.
We didn't bring a lot of winter clothes, but we had enough for like layers. We had to buy some gloves. We brought enough clothes for different situations.
So we started our tour. We went to Derinkuyu. It was a little bit of a drive, 30-40 minutes, something like that, maybe more. It's frigid, and it's beautiful. Those are fairy chimneys, the little columns. People live in them, well, used to. Some still do. So Derinkuyu is an underground city. Back in the 8th to 7th century BC, the people who lived in this area dug a whole bunch of underground structures. Some of them are massive. Derinkuyu is one of the biggest one. At its maximum depth, it goes down 200 feet, or about 60 meters. It has 5 different levels, like 5 stories deep of passageways, and each level could be, they were built so that if people were to come and raid the villages, the entire village could escape down into the tunnels and survive, kind of like a siege or an underground castle. They could bring their livestock. They had storage, food stores down there. Each level could be sealed with this big stone boulder so that if like level 1 was infiltrated by the raiders, then level 2 could seal off and protect everybody down below. And they said that at maximum capacity, Derinkuyu could have fit 20,000 people down there, including livestock, which is pretty massive.
With the tunnels, you have to squat down and walk through in tiny spaces. There was like a church underground, a place for livestock. Where else? Different bedrooms.
Hospital, school, basically an underground
whole
city.
City underneath.
The church was shaped the same way that many cathedrals are, as a cross, and you could probably one of the biggest rooms that was down there. They had ventilation shafts going all the way up to the top. If you're claustrophobic, I had to squeeze through some of the passageways. If you're claustrophobic, it may not be a good environment for you.
He's 6'3".
Yeah. 6'3", which is like 190 centimeters.
And I'm 5'1". Do you know how many
I
centimeters?
have no idea how many centimeters 5'1" is. The tunnels have been around for thousands of years, but they kind of got forgotten about, which happens a lot with this sort of historical thing. And it wasn't until the 1960s that they rediscovered Darren Kuyu, and some lady was exploring this cavity that she found behind her bookshelf. And upon exploring it a little bit, she realized that there was an entranceway that led to a huge underground city, which I think would be like the coolest thing ever to find in your house, the secret passageway to an forgotten underground city. So after Darren Kuyu and walking around and getting our tour through there, we went to Ilara Canyon, which is this really cool canyon with kind of a whole forest and a little river hike along it. So there was some old places of worship down there that still had that were fairly well preserved as far as the painting on the cave walls and stuff. So we got a little tour of that. So we did a nice, peaceful, I don't know, like hour-long hike down this river through the canyon. And at the end of it, there's this cute little place with ducks and fresh squeezed juice and seating areas and all that stuff.
Lots of pomegranate juice, which I love.
From there, we drove to Selime Monastery, which was about 8th or 9th century BC. And it was carved out initially as a monastery, but then after about 100 years or so, kind of fell into use for the camel caravans that were traveling through, and actually ended up being stables. They gave us like a half an hour, 40 minutes to run around this area and explore. And this was a pretty cool area because, first of all, the size of the spaces that had been carved out, and you could tell like what had been the old worship cathedral. But there was all these passageways that interconnected all the rooms through the rocks, and most of them weren't well lit. And because there was only our tour group there, it was kind of like a big playground. From there, we were supposed to go visit some rock museum, but we had kind of taken longer throughout the day than was intended, and the light was fading, and the museum had been closed, which is fine by us because we were all tired and it was starting to snow.
So we got back from dinner, and the power went out because of the snowstorm, I guess. It was freezing in our cave hotel, so we went to sit at a restaurant with tea.
A tea shop.
Because we didn't like coffee at the time. I like coffee.
I still don't like coffee.
I like coffee now.
So we hung out there for a while with the internet, and then went back and our power had come back on. So our third day there, we didn't really do much of anything. We kind of built in rest days into our travels so that we're not going every single day and burning ourselves out. We just explored the little village. Jessica bought some gloves because that was one of the things we hadn't brought with us when traveling. One of the popular things to do in Cappadocia is to hot air balloon rides, and because of the kind of low clouds and snowy weather, we opted not to do that because there was a chance that it would be canceled due to the snow anyways. A couple of the other travelers that were there did try to do the hot air balloon tour, and it got canceled, which it was a good decision on our part because you have to wake up really, really early, like 5 or 6 a.m. or something, to go do the hot air balloons. So we chose wisely, but that's also why we didn't do kind of one of the stereotypical tourist things there. Next time. It's a little bit out of the way. You have to fly or take long buses to get to Cappadocia, but I'd say it's definitely worth the visit.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.
Next weekend, we're actually going to get out and go sailing. We're also going to go to the Southwest International Boat Show down in Galveston. So expect some boat-related videos soon. That's better.
Okay.